going on? It must be our frequency or something. I'm getting lit up.
The
Huh?
internet? Are we blowing up the internet?
No, it's the electrical impulses in my body,
Oh,
in my legs. It happens. This kind of stuff happens to me on the show, but God, this is big. So this must be a good show coming up. All right, let's see. Let me tag you so it'll be on your page. Yeah, I think that's yeah. I totally am focused on the reality of regeneration and growing younger and
yeah.
teleportation and all that stuff. I think it's well within our grasp. God, I haven't talked
Absolutely.
to you in a long time. It's been too long.
I know. It's been a while, hasn't it? How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I've been pretty
Yeah?
good. I mean, Morgan's been gone a year, and we're trying to get her back over here. I got to move out
Okay.
of our place, the only place I've owned, or no, not owned, but rented. The only place I've had on a personal level since
Where are you at the moment?
2011, Arkansas.
Okay.
Arkansas. But yeah, so this weekend or next few days, we'll see what the universe has in store.
Okay. Okay.
I
Cool.
have
I
no
can't
idea.
wait to
But
I can't wait to see how this unfolds for you.
yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. I'm not really hung up on it. I'm not really clear on everything, but I think it's going to be like maybe a 3 month transition or something. I just have a feeling. And she'll
Okay.
come back, then we'll get a place, and I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know how it's going to go. I don't
Okay.
know how it's going to go. But I do keep tabs on you. I steal your memes. I just stole a bunch off your page.
I stole yours as well.
I know. I have this conversation like every 2 or 3 days with people, but yeah, I do. I like your stuff because you're so transparent. And God, you did one about 3 months ago, and you were crying, and it was powerful. You remember that? You remember that
Which,
one?
what was,
Which
I
time?
think which one? Yeah, what was that? Do you remember what I was talking
I don't
about?
remember. I only remember the energy, and
Okay.
it was just so transparent. Yeah, and I forget
You
what you
know
were.
what?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah. Go ahead.
I'll let you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think what I noticed at that time was that um, we so easily can put people on pedestals, and
Yeah,
think that and we watch people online and we watch influencers and we can think that they have their life all together and they're doing fine and they don't feel
that was it.
sadness and heartbreak. And, I think I was like, no, I need to start showing people more of my own struggles and the things that I go through. And, um, in my journey to find a great and grand love that will last for the rest of this lifetime or that will last for some moments in time, it's hard, you
Yeah,
know. And at the end of the day, even though I help so many people and I support so many people, I'm just a girl
I hear
looking for
you.
someone, I'm looking for someone to love her and accept her, you know.
Yeah,
And and I think at that time I was navigating my way through a bit of, well, a separation with someone that I
yeah,
loved very much,
yeah.
you know? Yeah. And
Yes.
he brought out the best in me. Actually, you know what he did? He brought out this side of me that I hadn't seen before.
Was it?
I,
wa-
I didn't even know was there,
Did you
you
like
know?
it, or did you like it, or
I
was it?
loved it.
Oh,
I
cool.
loved it. And even my kids noticed. They were like, call him. You're always so happy when you speak to him. And I'm like, wow, I thought I was happy before,
Mm,
you know?
yeah,
And so it was a very it was a hard time separating from that part of myself that he brought out in me.
yeah.
Um
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, ever since Morgan and I left, we always say to each other. I mean, since we met, um, I didn't sleep last night, so I'm gonna sleep right
Okay.
after this show. But
Okay.
yeah, because it's like 6 o'clock in the evening. But
Okay.
we would tell each other, you know, this is incredible. Like, this is too good to be true. Like, we haven't had this. This is 2011. I'm sorry, 2015. none of us had really had, it was very rare, right? I mean, there was a lot of powerful connections, but we'd always say, it's this or something better with each other or someone else. It's always
Yeah.
going to be,
Yes.
of course you can have your preferences, but we all know how that works. I mean, you just have to, but I do
Yeah.
think that some of these connections that have occurred and that keep occurring, and I know there's a lot of people that come together and then they come apart, and that's not a bad thing because a lot of times they come back together,
Yeah.
but they're just, they seem like to me they seem like those connections are, because it's two, are really solidifying the new grid, really anchoring in a frequency, if you don't look at it as twin flame or you don't look at it as whatever you want to label it,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
frequency,
Yeah.
it's to me it's like, I don't know, it's an integral part of our transformation right now. But
Absolutely.
I was just stealing some of your memes. Some of them had to do with the same subject, and I'm thinking to myself, man, she must be getting her email, her inbox must be full with people hitting on her, and putting out.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you say that because a lot of people say that to me, but it's quite the opposite. It's
Mm,
quite the opposite. Yeah. It's I don't have that many people hitting on me and um, interested in me, or sometimes there do come a few who are interested and they're like, oh, can I have your Instagram? And I'm like, if I give you my Instagram, I'm never going to speak to you again, because once they go there, they disappear, right?
well, the climate's changed though too. I mean, because if you just look at masculine and feminine, if
Mm,
you look at just say even like the last couple of years, I mean,
mm,
you could go back further. I mean, obviously, the feminine make up the vast majority of these communities, but the energy of the feminine has uh, become more self empowered and more expressive and more
yes.
independent. And the masculine, for the whole, I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying in general, the masculine, one way or the other, has been uh, pulled down a few notches on the distorted side. So then
Yeah.
now you can see some of the masculine energy coming up now and starting to show itself. But it's not the old energy. It's not the loud
Mm,
energy. It's I just had a talk with a brother for an hour, and
yeah.
he has that energy. It's just a soft, powerful,
Soft. Yeah.
reserved. You
Yeah.
know, Morgan.
Do you feel like you are in your relationship with Morgan? Do you feel like you feel like that empowered masculine in that
Yeah,
new energy? Can you
that.
tell me? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because
Yeah,
before yesterday, I was thinking, oh, I really want to talk to Todd about, if you're open to it,
I'm
about
open to anything. This is a conversation. It's not a Q&A. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I really want to talk about what it means to you to embody the divine masculine, and to be an empowered masculine in a relationship, in a conscious relationship.
Uh-huh.
Because I think a lot of men could really benefit from hearing the struggles that it is to be in a conscious relationship, and also the benefits as well.
It's a good point. The struggles is a good point.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to say that I'm a full blown, I'm not ascended. I'm not, I wouldn't say, I think it's always occurring or it's got an ing to it. So it's not like I can't look at myself and say, I know what I am and who I am, but I still, we all have work to do. But
Of
it's a
course.
good question because, and I was just thinking this the other day. Morgan's been doing these groups, and I thought to myself one day, I think I told her, I was like, man, I should get a bunch of men together and start doing groups.
Mm,
I've seen a
yes.
lot of them, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody, but I've also been parts of these groups that she does, and there's one. Sometimes I'm the only one. There might be
Mhm.
two, three other men, and it's a different kind of thing. If I go in the group and do and participate, and it's all women,
Yeah.
it's a totally different kind of deal. If there's men, uh, it's a little bit different. It's still good. It's great. But what I'm trying to say is this new masculine, I think, is just coming out and starting to show itself. But at the same time, and I was just talking to my friend who has those characteristics. I said to him, I think that because he was talking about himself, and I said, well, I think you've probably been holding space. Men like you have been holding space to allow
Mm.
for her to come out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that things have changed quite a bit. I can't really pinpoint it, but I know that there's been a lot of space holding coming to me that I need to do this. Not, how it goes. They don't tell you all the details. They just hold space, hold space. And that went on
Yeah.
for a while. And what I noticed was that in the last few weeks, the feminine has really stepped up. And I watched it happen with Morgan. How her enterprise has taken traction, and has started to just organically blossom. And
Mm.
and I think a lot of people, men and women, were for about 18 months with this COVID thing. I think we were all like you on the bed that day with the camera. I mean, there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of isolation and solitude. There was a lot
Yeah.
of triggering. There was a lot of this. There was a lot of that. So I think that looks like, I think for me, it was like February 22nd and then April 1st. It was another big one. And then all these solar things coming in, and you can feel it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
back to your question, um, you know, I think that's a really good suggestion what you made, because it's not anything like we've done before. Now, I'm just speaking to the men at this moment. I'm speaking to the masculine energy in a relationship, which doesn't have to be a man. I understand that. But it's not the braggadocio. It's not the let me fix it. It's not the old archetypes that we're transforming. It's quieter, softer, extremely powerful, much more powerful, but doesn't have to say anything. I'm told a
Mm.
lot. You don't need to say that. I'll be in a conversation or I'll go, wow, I got this. And then I'll hear, you don't need to say that. You hold that frequency. And
Yeah.
that's what, like in this case, that's what she'll respond to. That's what the external will respond to. Well, it doesn't need to be told. Love doesn't have to say anything, right? I mean, it just
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that the thing about the struggles, you know, as the archetypes kind of fell or transformed, then the way I saw it was you guys, the she in me
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
she always had that thing going on, right? Like, so she had
Yeah.
it going. She knew it was coming. A lot of women come on the show. They're getting downloaded like you, like Morgan, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This time is coming. This is what's going to happen. So I
Mm.
think they had a heads up. And because of the history encoded in our DNA, they were apprehensive. Because they'd been suppressed and worse. So they were a little bit skittish, but now it looks like the dam's broke. So the way I see it is like she's like, like a horse in a corral. Like somebody opened the gate and she's like, poof, she's gone. And so now he's standing there going, okay, wait a minute. Hang on a second. Who am I? Right now, who am I now? What is
Mm.
it that I want to, so it's, but I do think in terms of like the personal in the relationships, be it romantic or not, because of the way that things have changed so quickly, I think that, yeah, I think there's a real call arising for men to go close quarters with themselves and basically not have. This is why I haven't really participated in men's groups before, because I feel a lot of old energy. It's a
Yes.
lot of do and no 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 and
Mm.
I think what would happen, or what I envision, is that you get a bunch of men together and we let our feminine come out. We do what
Yes.
y'all have done. We say, hey,
Yeah.
I don't feel good today. You know, can I
Yeah.
talk to you? I mean, because you guys have this thing about being able to listen and just listen and not try
Mm.
to fix her and not try to save her and just hear your friend spill the beans. And I've noticed it in the evolution of my relationship with Morgan. The more I understood, and I only didn't do it because I didn't understand. It
Yeah.
wasn't that I wasn't present, but I was present from the path that I took. That was present to me, but it wasn't. And now
Mm.
my feminine side sees an example, and I start to go, "Oh, I've seen this before. Let her talk about this." You know, allow this, and that's the way I see the whole thing. She hasn't been, she, the you, the her, hasn't
Yeah.
been able to run free, right? Because of
Yes.
the roles, because of
Yeah.
the suppression. So now that, so in order for her to run free, she had to feel safe and supported and accepted and allowed and encouraged. And so now that she's running free, he's standing here going, and I'm doing this weekend. I'm actually like, I need about 3 or 4 days where I can just go, what is it now that you want? This is set in motion. Now, how can you complement in tandem? But anyway, just concluding comment. Like, I think that I shouldn't say that. I feel that the new direction for a man, for most, and we're not being stereotypical, but
Yeah.
will be open conversations with no bullshit that requires a presence where the feelings are put on the table.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
which you mentioned struggle, and that's I see it. Honestly, I see it in men who are extremely lit, who have incredible intel. And I'm not saying all of them, and yet I still see that distorted masculine. Probably because I've had it. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
may still
Of
have
course.
it, but I mean, I can look at it and go, okay, you got this frequency, but the more you open your mouth, the lower it goes, right? Because that's not about what you've got going on. It's about you. It's about
Mm.
look at me. It's about look what I know. And I hope that nobody's taking this wrong, but I really feel like that the emotional intelligence quotient is what obviously what we were missing, you know. And so
100%.
I
Yeah.
think that's a really good idea, and maybe I'll follow up on that.
Mm. So, what do you think it is that stops a man from showing up and actually expressing his emotions and communicating what's going on in his world, rather than suppressing it or um, holding back?
Well, these great questions. Thanks for turning the table on me.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I don't care. It's a conversation. Uh, Another great question, and I've been asked this. She's asked me this, and oftentimes I'll tell her. Of course, it's obviously gotten better and better and better as you know, because it's really just paralleling the individual growth that we're all having, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would tell her I can't talk about, you know, like yesterday. Yesterday I was not good. It's
Mm.
been a while since I've had a not good day. It
Yeah.
wasn't horrible, but she obviously picked up on it. What's
Mm.
going on? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. And not from the old man, the old guy. The old guy, I don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me questions. And it wasn't like that. It was just like, I don't know. I have an idea, but I need to
Yes.
do some stuff in here and you know, kind of
Yeah.
catalog, you know, and get everything in place, and then I'll know. And then I'll tell you. But I think, like, back to your question, I think that number one, obviously, you were suppressed, but so was he. Now, if you look at what was suppressed, or how that turned out for her, she still had that thing going on. See, so she had that women's intuition, which she had enough intuition to know. I knew I was right. I told him not to do that. You know, like I knew this was coming. I knew she was going to have a baby girl. You know, like so you get that validation where he only got his validation from the alpha male, codependent, narcissistic, patriarchal that was utilizing him as the battering ram. So number one, you're not encouraged to discuss your feelings. You're weak
Yes.
if you do. So now you're put into a space with someone like you or Morgan and a woman or whatever, and they're like expert on emotions. Like a woman is going to express her emotions come hell or high water. Hopefully it's not in extreme circumstances, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
The man will hold it, and you know, and we know what that does. But I think that's probably, to me, it's the feminine. So as much as I've seen her masculine, like action oriented, like it's amazing watching her. Like she typed for 11 hours yesterday. 11 hours. I'm calling her on the phone. Hey, what's up? Oh, I'm working. You know, but she was in her groove, right?
Yeah.
And I think for as much as I've seen that balance occur, and because in a woman, when the balance occurs, you're gonna see the masculine in her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you know, because you've seen the other one in the majority, and now it's coming into a balance. So for a man, I think it's the other way. So I've seen myself over the last few months, my feminine come in. I mean, and it's
Okay.
been very cool, right? It's been very cool to be able to do some things and be open and transparent and not feel self-conscious about it.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a great topic that you're talking about because you know Morgan and I would talk about this a lot, and I think another thing to your question that might help women is what I said about, or here's the way I would put it to her. There's things that she would be saying to me that are like a foreign language. Okay. So in essence,
Yeah.
we're speaking two different languages. So I'm
Yeah.
coming from one path, you're coming from another. That's a totally different perspective. And I think one of the healthy things in this whole process has been, well, two things. One, the number one gift is the mirror that my partner provided. It's never
Yeah.
them, it's always me, which in that close of a relationship gets tested like no other.
Oh,
But if you
absolutely.
can really stick to it and stick together, you know, be it whether you're feeling good or you're not feeling good with, you know, whatever's going on. But if you can, then you start to make some progress and that attribute, you know, enters the relationship. But I mean, it's understanding that I don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand what I'm doing. But if we talk through it, this is what happened a lot would be like, oh my God, we're saying the same damn thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But
just,
well, that's the mirror, right?
yeah,
You're
I'm,
experiencing exactly the same thing. So, how do you, because over the last 4 or 5 years, there have been a lot of conscious people doing the work alone,
yeah,
right? And maybe engaging in physical connections that are not as conscious as
yeah,
what they desire, but they do it because it fulfills a need and we all
of
want physical
course.
intimacy and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So, how do we, what would you say to someone who is like, okay, I think I'm ready for that conscious relationship now, but is scared to step into it because it's confronting after doing the work alone for so long, right?
It is confronting. You know, the couple thing, be it romantic or not, it's gonna you know it's gonna parallel the individual that we all have, that the individual journey that we all have, the individual path. And you know, Morgan used to say, and I'm talking like back like 5-6 years ago, she'd be like, sometimes it's you, sometimes it's me, and sometimes it's just the energy. Right?
Yeah.
That would be one. And then the other would be, she'd say to me, you know, we're not balanced. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? What do you mean we're not balanced? What's going on? What, you know? And she
Yeah.
would say, how can you expect a relationship to always be balanced if as individuals we're not? If we're going through
Yeah.
these massive ascension fluctuations, why wouldn't the relationship be too? Now, I do think that something has shifted as we talked about. So going back to what you're asking about, I, you know, whether it's my kid or anyone else, because obviously a lot of people would approach Morgan and I, probably more her than me, but well, how do you attract? And I say, you know, you clean yourself up, it'll happen. It's just going to happen. It's just
Yeah.
it's universal science, spirit science. I mean, it's just the way it works. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the cycle of creation. This is the way it works in all its different ways, which is bringing these two polarities together, and then you know what happens, and then you know you have an
Yeah.
energetic baby or a physical baby or a business or all the above.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think that what I have found, and it's obvious, it's not rocket science. The more that we, because I think there's a difference between like a desire that has like tunnel vision versus an open, I'm open, and you know the appeals from the heart and so on. I really feel like we're going to see a boatload of these things starting to happen. I really
Yeah.
do. I think we have done a tremendous amount of work on an individual level. I don't know the number of people, but the energy is moving, and I think that energy is very virgin and fertile for a new, just like everything else, for a
Yeah.
new, you know, what would you say, a new template of
Mm.
what we came into this thing with, you know?
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. So if a man is more on the feminine side and is wanting to step more into his masculine energy with this new, we're talking about the new energy now that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
How would one do that? How would one step into that? Go from being more, because there are some conscious men who have been more in their feminine and are very expressive and hold space, like, you know, in a really beautiful way. So how do we? What would you say to someone who wants to be more in the masculine and experience
Well,
that?
that's a tough one because you know because okay, so what is more fit? Well, what is someone who's like I was in touch with my feminine.
Yeah.
I was sensitive to females my whole life since I was a
Mm.
kid.
Yeah.
But going through this evolution with Morgan, I learned that even though I was, you know, it's kind of like when I was in school playing ball, and my coach said to me, you know, like you know, whatever, you need to work a little harder or something like that. And I said, I'm better than everyone here. He said, yeah,
Mm.
but you're not better than everyone we play. So, in other words, it, you know, it's like, um, I would say this, like, first we'd have to like pinpoint what does that mean? Because somebody can be effeminate or they can just be more sensitive. The attributes to me, the characteristics would be he's quiet, he's reserved, he's a good listener, he knows how to hold space, he's supportive, he's encouraging. Uh, Now, if you take that personality and you stick
Yeah.
him in the old paradigm, which I was in, the corporate world,
Yeah.
for example, that's who I was. But by the time they got done with me, I was an alpha male. Okay,
Yeah.
because it that's what was required. So
Yeah.
if I knew somebody that was like that, like my friend that I just talked to, he is it. He is it. See, for every woman that's you know been in the background, they're starting to come out. I just realized in talking to my friend and even just reflecting the last week or so, there's a whole bunch of men out there the same way. There's a whole bunch of them. And they're quiet, they're coming into their power, they're excited, and they
Yeah.
carry both. I think the bigger question, to me anyway, as a man, would be not the not the ones that are in touch with their feminine and exuding those types of attributes, but it's the other ones. It's the other 80%, 90%, whatever it is, that we talked about earlier. Like, what would you do in a group like that, Todd? Well, set the rules going in that you know we're not going to revert to one-upmanship and you know and I know this and I can fix that and you know look at me, I'm a rooster, hear me crow and look at my chest sticking out. let's go somewhere else. Like, have you ever been molested?
Mm,
Have you ever had your heart broken? What the fuck did that feel like? You know,
yeah.
have you ever, when's the last time you cried? You know, uh, what kind of father are you? You know, just these questions that go, and who asks these questions? If you think about it, the
Yeah.
woman will ask these questions. But again, we're coming from two different places in a very uh, increasingly expansive environment energetically that's also very, very much a variable fluctuation. So
Mm,
you throw that in there, it kind of convolutes things a little bit. But just to keep it like basic, I would
yeah.
say that to me that would be it would be that kind of energy to pull those guys over here rather because these guys that you're talking about, I think they are them. I think they're already on their way.
Mm,
They just haven't been able to stand out unless like they were a great artist or something that
yeah.
kind of like set them apart. But they haven't. They've been suppressed. Those guys in that minority have not been in the men's group, right? They're like not in
Yeah.
the. They might have a couple of best friends, that see them for what they. But they're not going to be like with the gang, So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm. And these men that we're talking about, you're just talking about the alpha males and
yeah,
the ones who push their chest out and all of that. Ultimately, like when you do ask these, well, like this is what I find at least when I do ask these men these deep questions, they love it. It's
of
like
course they do.
they've been hungry
Of
for it
course
their
they do.
whole life, this deep connection, you know. And that facade is really just it's a defense
Of
mechanism,
course it is.
you
It's
know.
like me
And
doing this. You come in and I put my hands on my hips. I mean, that's
yeah,
anyone that knows body language. That's immediately I'm on my defensive or
yeah,
this.
and it's
Yeah.
yes. And I think we all, regardless of whether they're as conscious as other people, we all want this
Oh yeah.
deeply to be seen and heard, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and accepted.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Well, Morgan said that for years. She'd be like, "This is one thing everybody wants." Now I don't care who you are, and there's probably a few that don't. Maybe someone's asexual or whatever, whatever.
yeah,
But this is what people want. I mean, why wouldn't you? This is a replica of you, right? I mean, it's
really.
right. So yeah, and she said something. She wrote a comment on a video, a live yesterday, because we were talking about the women coming out, right? And like even like in her case with the the business enterprises, the masculine action oriented part of that makes
Mm,
us up. And she wrote a comment and said something to the effect, "This is what's happening. I think that the man was he was waiting, meaning like the energetic divine mask was waiting for her to do this, right? But by the
wow.
same token, right, she's waiting for him to do what you're talking about, and you're right. When and I've done this where it bit me in the ass, like
Yeah.
a woman would come in because I didn't have the savvy. You know, Morgan helped me with that. Over the years as she was over there and I was over here, and we were starting to come together, which was a woman coming to me and saying those types of things or asking me those types of things, and I'm like, and it does. It opens your heart, and you're like, oh wow, I can trust somebody. But what happened
Yeah.
is I would tell them my secrets,
Yeah.
and the next thing you know, because things didn't work out. Whatever, these are friends. I mean, they're not lovers, but
Yeah.
they would
Yes.
they might have had certain intentions, ulterior motives. But anyway, bottom line is I got bit. So then that would have said that going back 3 or 4 years ago, which is I'm sure indicative of what was happening collectively. But now uh, it's 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 okay. But the reason it's okay is because I'm not projecting on her, the divine
Yeah.
feminine. I'm not looking for her to do it for me. And by the same token, she's now fully exercising her masculine action oriented, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I see where it only makes sense. the feminine have gone first, and everything that we've done. And all you got to do is look at the way these groups are populated.
Yes.
It's 70 to 90% women.
Mm. Mm. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Every time I created a program, it was all filled with women. All of my
Of
programs are
course,
filled
yeah,
with women, you know, and and that's okay. That's okay because I think men are very good at doing the work alone and figuring things out in their cave, and ultimately, I think what they desire is to be validated.
yeah,
Yeah, men are not, well, from my experience at least, men, they don't want you to fix them or to
no,
tell them what to do. They
no.
just want you to say, "Oh wow, that sounds really hard," and then they go off and they figure it out on themselves, and it's the most empowering thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and growing up, I feel like I stepped into my masculine energy a lot. So for me, and my friends hate it, but at times I go into what I call my man cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm in my cave, processing, doing my thing." I'm not a talker. I'm not much of a talker, like I've always done it that way.
Yeah,
And it is really empowering for me to be with myself and my
yeah,
thoughts and my emotions and process them in that way.
yeah. I mean, that probably affects both sides of us, I think. But you're right. In fact, yeah. Going back to what you said earlier, I mean, yeah. I in fact, I mentioned something to Morgan today. Because this isn't like like things I've been through in the past, traumatic,
Mm.
but
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is the first place we've ever had, and she painted all the walls and everything,
Uh-huh.
and it's I dealt with it 2 or 3 times, and I thought I'm good, and then last night I'm like I'm starting to cry, and I'm like, man, f this. I mean, and I start getting into the loops. And, oh, stop, and go to bed. But what you were saying in regard to he can figure it out.
Yeah.
He can figure it out. He just needs a little space. And this isn't something that was supported either. See, so this is like the soft side of him that he couldn't show if he did it. He could do it, but he had to hide it, basically. And
Yes.
and so
Yes.
now he's the fact that you recognize that, or that the feminine recognizes that, I think is going to be a big plus, because she does have an instinct, uh, that intuition. She has that, and she has that knowing. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
she knows when to squeeze, when to let go, when to, you know what I mean? And she knows how to probe. He's still a rookie in this, really. But
Mm.
yeah, I think this is where we're at, though. I think this is why we're talking about it, and I think that's what's
Yeah.
happening. And I think the fact that she's the feminine has I don't think she's making a move. I think she's done it, right? And now we're just building from scratch. So now he's going, okay, I'm coming to the party too. But what he needs to do isn't what she did. It's what
That's right.
she
Yeah.
knew and he didn't. And if you look at
Mm.
business in general, and I'm not being sexist, but if you look at business in
Mm.
general, obviously it's a patriarchal system. He knew a lot there that she didn't, right? You know,
Exactly.
and so now
Yeah.
he's got to grab what she was a master at, and then and duplicate what she's done in terms of what she was picking up from that side of herself.
Well, yeah, and I think like, from my understanding, at least, it was when I was learning about the masculine and feminine, it was the masculine's job to become established in the physical world and to
Mm-hmm.
master the physical world,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the feminine's role to master the spiritual world. And together they could come to they could come together and balance.
Yeah.
But now it's as if we have to master. Well, at least for me, I'm like, okay, I've got to master my physical world on my own, in my masculine, and while I'm mastering my, well, not, I wouldn't, I'm learning and I'm growing in my spiritual world as well.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Well, and another thing too is, and you said it a minute ago, is a lot of probably most women in this day and age, say of our generations, they had to take on a masculine role, and unfortunately, if all you have to look at is distorted, then you're obviously going to have to. And if you're going to compete and participate in that patriarchal, you would have to. You wouldn't have a chance or a choice. You would have to, um, you know, take on that distorted template of the masculine or those some of those attributes, or
Yes.
because the other way would be she's deals with it by using her alluring sexuality, her energy, whatever you want to call it. And y'all stopped doing that a long time ago. So I think it's a really good sign. I think it's a really good sign. And
Yeah.
I know I've been able to look at myself, and I only say this because I feel like I've picked up on this with other men.
Hmm.
I've watched other men. I do shows, and I have a few people I might talk to now and then, which is I look at myself the last, well, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months, and I say, wow, this feminine inside you is pretty hot. Like she's got some wisdom. Like when I start to get edgy, I bring in that soft for myself
Yeah.
in my own space. I bring in that just chill. You don't have to do anything. You don't have a
Yeah.
schedule. There's nothing. And that's to me that feminine energy. The feminine energy
Yes. Yeah.
is just wide open, right? And so
Yeah.
you're talking about an old masculine that was point A to point B, engineer, accountant, you know what I mean? And that's having to be rewired.
Mm.
It's going to be more of a hybrid of where he's been and where she's at,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Oh,
So,
that's beautiful. And
yeah.
and it's I remember when I first because I remember when I first started exploring being feminine, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is delicious. It was intoxicating for me, right?
Yeah.
I loved it. It was very new for me to be in this soft, allowing, going with the flow type of energy, you know, and it started to change everything.
Yeah.
Um, so it is really powerful. The feminine is really
It
powerful.
is. I think the feminine energy is, and so like my situation right now is a perfect example because I remember like in 2016, 17, uh, 18, and I would be, just on a whim or, on a shoestring, just going around the country and trying to make something happen and broadcasting and being broke and dealing with this and dealing with that. I would tell Morgan, like, there was something going on with my relationship with flow, with abundance, and creation. And if I could keep myself soft, that'd be how I describe it now, on my softer side, and I didn't get too amped up, which
Mm,
I did all the time. I mean, I'd pull in, I'd get on the thing and say, we're going to have a festival this weekend in Houston, Texas. And then it never happened. And then I would just get
yeah,
overly excited.
yeah,
But it wasn't because of an ego. It was because that's the pattern I knew. If you're not accomplishing something right now, then something's wrong with you. You're not a man. So because it was so difficult financially, and still a challenge, but it's further down in the evolution. I realized early on that I had to find, I had to be soft about it, which meant I had to trust. I had to say,
yeah.
don't push the panic button. So this is a good example. I'm what, 4.5 days away from being out of this place. I have
Wow.
no clue what's going to happen. Uh,
Okay.
there's say, you know, some funds over here. There's a couple of ideas here and here. There's a Soulogy Fest that's going to go off in September. I don't have, it's all kind of like I feel it and go, everything's okay. I know
Yeah.
this. And
Trusting the unknown.
right. And to me,
Mm.
that's that quality. To me, but now it's even more because like yesterday I was getting amped up and I just laid down. I went, Okay, hang on now. Let's bring her out. And I just, you don't, it's the intuition thing. It's like the knowing is not something we were as in touch with, I don't believe,
Yeah.
than she was in women's intuition. But so that's helped me a lot. You know,
Yeah.
and I'll just say this too. I learned, obviously we're all learning, you know, and
Mm.
then I have this thing I've been doing 3,400 shows, and all throughout it, she helped me, Morgan, helped me become a better listener, or she pointed things out to me. She wouldn't like
Yes.
she wouldn't like train me, but she would just go, you know, and so I picked up on it.
Yeah.
And but what I'm trying to say is that through all of this, because it's all kind of the same thing, really. You can
Mm.
even take the masculine and feminine out of it at some point.
Yeah.
We're talking about this present evolutionary period, but I
Yes.
have become more present with myself like never before. Like I'm really in the, I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of people are out there like this, but like 95%, 95 percentile, 95th percentile on your game. You know, like it's not a lot of craziness and not the draw. You know, none of that's there. But the moments like yesterday, like oh my God,
Yeah.
I gotta go get a truck and pack everything. And where's Morgan? And I miss her. And then it starts going into this whole other thing. I'm like, oh wait a minute, we're
Yeah.
about to make some magic. You can't make magic sitting here on the pity pot.
Yeah. That's right. And yeah, you're right. And it's about really being able to hold yourself when you're having those moments,
Hmm.
you know? So can you, because I love a good love story, can you tell us a little bit about how you met Morgan and
How what?
your love story?
How what happened?
How you met Morgan?
I stalked her for 6 months.
Tell me
That's,
more.
uh,
How did you do that?
so you know it's so crazy trying to talk about Morgan or even Soulogy because so much information came in on a linear scale down the road. So it's kind of weird to put tell the story from a
Yeah.
human only perspective, but I will. But no, I don't know. It was 2015, and I had spent a couple years on the streets, and then I'd been in my own place for about a year, and I was Soulogy was I was pushing. That's all I did all day long, every day, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
And but I always had this thing where I was like, I know she's out there, right? I know she's out there. I've known her since the day I was born. She's out there. Who she is, I don't know. So one day, I don't know what happened. I saw her energy because back in those days, she had like 4 pictures, and they were those pictures where you had to get like a microscope, where they had the really small,
Yeah.
and so I don't know what drew me to her, but I just, oh, I know what it was. I went to her page. I said, this is interesting. She's got a weird picture. She's not like these other women, like putting her,
Yeah.
and then I read a post she did. I read her bio and talked about playing in dimension and talking to your future self. And I'm like, well, what the hell is she talking? But it all resonated.
Yeah.
And then I read this post she had put up about when she stumbled onto soul merging. She was doing a session with a guy, and the codes exchange, and it was fascinating, bit provocative for
Mm-hmm.
for the old stereotypical woman. She's talking about orgasms and having to pull over on the side of the road, and how she had picked up on his over zealous sexuality, and he had picked up on her celibacy. It was like this whole, and I'm thinking, who is this
Yeah.
person? But so anyway, I just went about my business, and I would tap into her few pictures, and she'd read her stuff, and I sent her a friend request right away, but I didn't approach her. And then about 6 months into it, I sent her a note, and I said, "Hey, do you want to join Soulogy?" Which I never sent that to anybody.
Okay.
I never did. I would just invite them. If they came, they came. If they didn't, they didn't. And so she wrote me back, and she was like, "Well, what is it?" And I was busy I would stay busy all day writing and doing all the things I did. And I said, I'll get
Yeah.
back. Something was going on. I said, I'll get back with you. And as soon as I can. So like, I think a day or day and a half go by. And I wrote back and said, oh, I'm ready to talk now. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. I checked it out. I joined. Like,
Oh,
don't worry yourself. And so I was like, damn. But when I got that response from her was at 3:30 in the morning, 3:33 in the morning, and I had spent about 6 hours working on some deep sexual trauma. I had called in Kuan Yin. I mean, it was a very intense experience. I was curled up in a ball in a fetal position. I was crying like I hadn't cried since I was homeless. You know, I'm living in a house. I got the studio, the Soulogy things going. My youngest kids are with me, so I should have been, happy. But and I just jumped off the couch and I said, I need her now. And in that moment, she messaged me back telling me, I already checked Soulogy out. Thank you for not coming back, like you said you would.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I told her, I said, like something like, this isn't a coincidence. I need to talk to you. And she said, I know. So she was already on it. And we merged that night. And I convinced her to talk to me on the phone the next day, which is something she never would do. In fact, I didn't even see her on video for a year and a half.
Wow.
Till a week before she came to the States. 17 months after we started talking. And in fact, I think she sent me 2 pictures in a year and a half too. She wouldn't take pictures, and it was all phone calls.
Yeah.
I tried to send her some, shirtless pictures and stuff. She's like, don't be doing that. We're not going there. So she already had, from the beginning, she knew, like, she was on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it happened. And she came in 2017 for like 12 weeks, and that was wild and crazy. And she lived with me as a hobo, and then she came back in 2018 for 3 weeks, and then on it. We were the last time I think we were together about 2.5 years. So it's been about a year we've been apart, but we're closer than ever now,
It's beautiful.
and we'll be back together. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah.
I just
And,
told
and
her.
what's
Go ahead.
no, you go, you go.
No, I was just gonna make a joke. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what's been your favorite part of this journey, this container that you've built with Morgan?
Oh God, you ask good questions. We need a
Thank
backup
you.
host on this damn show too. Um, you know, to me, God,
Mm,
that's a big question. I see it this way, and I can only speak for this incarnation now, or what I have at my disposal
mm,
consciously, be it this incarnation or not. But in this incarnation, this time and space, I, s- I think God's a woman. Uh, the goddess is a woman, obviously. Uh, I feel like she created me. That's how I look at it. So I can't really explain it, but it's just something I know. Like, and so
okay.
it's like, it's like, it's like this. It's like, because even when I didn't know her and know who she was, every
Yeah.
day when I went to work at Soulogy, which was every day, all day long, no matter what it looked like, it was sending signals, consciously sending signals to
Mm,
her. See me, you know, I'm the real deal. And so that was going on. But the, I think the big thing to answer your question is it's kind of a combination of expression and inspiration. So, like when I write a song or do something creative, I look at it as a channel of
mm,
it's an inspiration. It's a
mm,
connection to the divine, and then the expression is your attempt to try to enhance it or something or get closer to it. I don't know how to explain it, but I'd say probably that those are the two things. One is uh, the level of reverence. I can't I can't go there. It'd be like me trying to speak to carrying a baby for 9 months. There's just something that you all have, I don't, and it's not limited to the physical body. This is just where I'm at. I think when we get out of here, maybe things change. I don't know, but I think the other thing is the what do you call it? The mirror, like, and I'm talking about the tough things. I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about conflict between two people and arguments, and I'm not talking about, what I'm talking about is when Todd goes into his cave and he sits down, and it's so powerful because this is the closest mirror you have. So if you can get it right here, you'll get it right everywhere. So that whole thing, she said to me years ago, it's never them, it's always me. Well, I see this trip as an all or nothing proposition. I don't believe there's an exception to that at all. That's just my personal belief, and a lot of people might not agree with me. But
I agree with you there.
That's the greatest gift to me. That's the greatest gift. Who would think that love would come in like a fucking bulldozer, right? You know, we think of the fluffy, right? We think of the fluffy, and it is great. Don't get me wrong; it's fucking beautiful. But it's those hard truths that have come through to make me a better all around, but it's still, I still have to do it. It can be pointed out to me. I can observe things. I have to get past the judgment. I have to get past, the shame, any guilt, any program, whatever it is. To get to myself. And I don't even know how I went pretty deep when I was on the streets. I had some pretty severe circumstances, but I was totally alone. And in this case, I think in essence, you're always alone.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you explain that. It's like two is one, and it's weird. It's like you got three streams going at one time, But yeah, I think that to me that's been because not only do you raise the love quotient for yourself, but there's a simultaneous reaction. So
absolutely,
every time
it's like when you look in the mirror, it's like all these other dimensions open up that couldn't open up before until you looked in that mirror.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful, and it's painful too. But it's, as my friend says, it's painfully beautiful, all of it.
Yeah, painfully beautiful, perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and it's funny because years ago, and this was mostly done virtually, and again, no video, no nothing. Now it was just, and we would do sessions, or the evolution would just occur, and these types of things would happen on a much more immature level for me anyway. Early in the and I would wake up the next day and go, the world's different today. You look different today. I tell her, Morgan, you look different today. You look amazing. And she would just laugh at me, and she'd go, the world hasn't changed. I haven't changed. I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah, that's the joke, the funny part of it, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Well, it's been nice to hear your story, more of your story, and more of what your journey's been like, and your thoughts, and where you're at, and how you're feeling.
Yeah, you turned it on me, didn't you? But that's cool.
I said to Morgan last time, I said, I think is it all right if I interview Todd?
So y'all were in cahoots.
Yeah.
Do you do shows with people? I mean, do you do your own?
I've been thinking about it.
I think you'd be fantastic. I just saw my friend Maureen Moss. She was the principal at World Puja Network, which was like the audio Soulogy in the first decade of the century. she said Anthea uh, would make for a terrific interviewer on a lot of levels. Yeah, I get that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I call him my spiritual dad because I go to him whenever I need support, and he was his suggestion. He said you need to start a podcast,
Yeah, I think
and
that's great.
you need to talk about intimacy with self and others and vulnerability
Yeah.
and so maybe it's time.
Oh,
Maybe I
I
need
think
to
you'd be
just
fantastic. I mean,
thank you.
seriously. Well, and you know, the great thing about it is each one of the shows is like a session. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot easier now, but like in the early days, what the hell are you doing? You know, because
Mm,
and that's another part of the story too, is that yeah, I was doing videos. You know, I did 400 videos in the first 9 months when I came out. None of them were with other people.
yeah.
There was just me, right? Spirit
Yeah.
walks
Right.
and different things,
Yeah.
and so I met her, and it was about. In fact, I kind of when I met her is when I really started doing that. So
Mm,
several months into it, she says to me, "You know, uh, it's not just about you. Maybe you should talk to other people." So once I got in, so I said, you know, that's a great idea, and it actually came from
mm,
her and I talking,
mm,
and we were saying, well, wouldn't this be great if this could be put out there?
mm,
Which was you know one of the first videos we did was me and her sitting on a balcony in Utah, and she wouldn't be on camera, so all you could see was our feet, and we had a couple of videos like that. But what I was going to say is that I would find myself in the seat and I'd be like, okay, what the hell are you doing? And I would just go, okay, I'm going to put myself, I'm the audience. So, you know, many times I would ask questions that I was well versed in or knew, but it was because I felt like I was representing everybody. But what the reason I'm telling you this is because as time went on, I started to realize that I wasn't excluded. That you know, no matter what
yeah.
I knew or didn't know going into something, by the time I got through it, there was an energetic exchange, and then it became aware. I became aware it was a vortex of all the people,
Yes.
and so you know, that part of it to me is extremely rewarding to be able
Absolutely.
to learn as you go. You know,
Absolutely. And I love, like you help so many people with these shows that you do.
I hope
Like
so.
it
Yeah.
is you
I,
do, you do. I mean, people watch it. There's 78 people watching now and then there'll be more watching later and
yeah.
this container is always there for whenever someone's ready to
Yeah.
tune into it. So and I love these energetic exchanges that we share. Like I always look forward to
Oh, cool.
spending time with you.
Yeah, I really I appreciate that. But yeah, I think you'd be fantastic. Honestly, I think you'd be great, and I think what your friend said is right. And that's my point. That's what kind of jogged me on it was it's because of those discussions and the openness that you know the heart gets bigger or the openness gets bigger, and that is transparent. So to me, that's like you know vulnerability, transparency. It's a frequency field, and I'm standing in it with somebody, you know, and bodies, and so it affects you, and to me, it's been a big plus for me because it's helped me along with the other things I've told you, like with Morgan and myself
Yeah.
and the different. But it's helped me to see myself. And I never watched a show twice. I never go watch a show. Not and all these shows. Never. Not even
No?
the
You
not
never
even
watch
the
yourself?
not only every now and then if I'm gonna like edit or something or I
Okay.
need to go see something. But if I, you know it's with the individual ones that I did early on. It's probably closer to 5,000 videos, and I can't watch them. Like Morgan will say, "Go watch this and see what." I can't because I can't look at my face. You know, like I can't hear my
Oh,
voice. You know, it's just you know how it is when you first hear your voice on the audio when you're a kid. And you're like, "That's not me."
yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
I sounded I used to think I sounded like a man. I was like, oh, I sound like a man. I couldn't listen back either for a long time.
Yeah,
Mm,
and yeah, I think your friend is right on the money too, because it's, you know, and everything has its place. And
yeah.
I'm not advocating or being prejudicial. I see the value of what you brought up in the first place, which was how do you get this openness? How do you get, and that's when I said, have you ever been molested? Are you a good father? How are you as a husband? Ask these deep questions, and it creates I don't know, like fresh, raw material, unburdened, unbridled material, or cleaner, purer, and then what you do from there is what you do from there. But yeah, I think
Mm,
the topic, your style and the topics, the way that you approach it, and what he said is that's where we get the most gold to me.
I agree.
It's not
Yeah.
it's no longer the instructing or the intel
Yes.
of
Yes.
dates or the how the universe is set up. It's the human being in
Yeah.
this evolution with whatever they have in their consciousness, and expanding, uh,
Mm.
and because there's no template here.
No,
We
and
can't.
like you said, it's new for us here.
Mhm.
We don't know what to do yet. And I think, in the last couple of weeks, I've been looking for inspiration.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I've been desiring new inspiration, and I'm like, I don't really know what's next for me yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thank you because I feel like you've given me this inspiration that I've been looking for.
Well, you're
So,
welcome,
so
and
thank
thank you
you.
for everything too. And I'm in the
Mm.
yeah, yeah. This is great, and we won't wait so long next time.
Yes, let's do another
How
one
was
soon.
your mom? Right? I thought you were a mom.
Mm.
Who's the kid I saw in that? Oh, I
Oh, yeah,
got.
yeah, yeah. I have two girls.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay, okay. That's what I thought. You
Yeah,
were a mom. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a mom. I've got a
Everybody's.
Lydia and Sophie.
Yeah, well, I remember mostly energy, but I remember some of the details of the first couple times you came on. So everybody's good. Everybody's good.
Everyone's.
Good.
Yes,
Okay.
my kids are teaching me so much.
Yeah.
They're new energy. They're very conscious, both of them, and very in tune. And they don't miss a beat. So they are helping me evolve into a better person
How
every
old
day.
are they?
6 and 8.
Oh God. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I don't know how. I tell Morgan this. I don't know how these people do this. I don't know. I had 6 kids, and I
Wow.
can't even imagine doing the stuff that we do and having kids in the house. I would be. I don't know how y'all do it. I mean, it's incredible.
It's definitely been a character building experience going through this journey and having little people to take care of. Like it's yeah,
Yeah. Well, they'll be helping
it's
you. They'll be helping you soon, and
mm,
and they'll be getting older too. So like
yes,
I did have my two little ones with me for about 2.5 years, and they would have been like 11, 12, 13. They were girls. They were developed. They were, so I was dealing with all that. Single dad,
yeah,
and
wow,
they taught me a tremendous amount. In fact, it
mm,
was them and Morgan that clued me in. I had gotten so separated or distanced from the feminine that they kind of helped me bring it back in, because they were like 12 and 13. You know how that
yeah,
is. They wouldn't let me do. They
yeah,
wouldn't do anything I said. They wouldn't clean anything, and there was this
yeah,
whole thing went on, and but yeah, and now the young ones are 20 and 21, and that's still the same thing. They still, like my youngest one, like we're gonna talk tonight, and she's typical 20-year-old. They have the same romantic desires we have, and she's 18 years old, and walks into she's running an art gallery now, and
Wow.
was kind of managing a really high end restaurant. Just taking a different path, but same thing. I'm learning from her, but I was amazed a couple days ago, and she's like hitting me up, and we actually did a session last week.
Yeah.
And she went right in and grabbed her higher self. And I said, ask your higher self this. Oh, well, my higher self was telling me something else. This is what my higher self was telling me. So she immediately had the, but
Mm.
she hit me up 2 or 3 days ago, and she was like a bit emotional. And she was like, I have an abandonment issue. I realize this. And I'm like, whoa.
Mm.
I'm 20 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even thought of the word until I was 50.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these kids are coming in, and that's another thing. I told Morgan this the other day. I was like, you got these feminine energy, like blazing the trail, and then of course the masculine's there. But I mean, then you got these kids coming behind it. Like that's just going to be such a slam dunk. You know,
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
well, I really appreciate it, and it's really good seeing you. And give those girls a hug from Uncle Todd. Third eye kiss would be better.
I will. I will.
And
And I appreciate you. Thank you, Todd.
yeah, hey, and if you need any, if you decide you want to do that,
Yes.
I got all the scar tissue. So
I have decided I'll be in touch.
yeah, yeah, just hit me up, and I'll save you a lot of time and get you real fluid. I'll help you any way I
I'd
can.
appreciate that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
All right.
All right.
Sending you lots of love, Todd.
Love you.
Love you
Peace out.
too. Bye.
All
Mwah.
right. See you later.